what are these senators hearing today from the Admiral who ordered the strike and from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who both say they acted legally?
Well, Joe, thanks again for having me back on again. And I'm only sorry I can't be on with Tony Capaccio, who is one of my favorite journalists going back decades. So, look, unfortunately, we in the public don't yet know exactly what transpired. I do think eventually we'll see the videos and we'll get the full story. But I think we have to step back 1 minute and understand that these operations in and of themselves are likely illegal. The fact that we are conducting these operations on the high seas, the fact that we're calling them war, it doesn't make it war. These are police actions that are resulting in the killing of people we don't even know, targets, who we have been told are drug smugglers, working for kind of a drug terrorist organization. So this is all new legal waters, to use a pun intended, that we are being asked to explore. And I would like to hear from lawyers, frankly. I don't want to hear just from the Admiral. I want to hear from seasoned, judge advocate generals, people who understand the military law. And certainly when it comes to the issue of people who are survivors, who are not piloting the boats, Joe, who are in the water clinging to them for their lives, those people are survivors and they should be given safe passage. So we know that if those were Americans in a war context or in a police context, that we would expect the same from any other actor who comes across them.
We have a literal split screen unfolding live right now in Washington, Evelyn, as President Trump has begun speaking at the Donald J. Trump Institute of Peace, as it was renamed just 24 hours ago. He's there with the presidents of Rwanda and the Congo to talk about their arriving at peace. If you're with us on Bloomberg Radio, the backdrop behind the president has big lettering that reads, "Delivering Peace." So with that in mind, Evelyn, reporting by the New York Times today shows that Pete Hegseth approved contingency plans for this very scenario. The military would in fact attempt to rescue survivors if they appeared to be helpless, shipwrecked, or out of what they considered the fight. But it would try to kill them again if they took what the U.S. deemed to be a hostile action, like communicating with suspected cartel members. After the smoke cleared from the September strike, there were two, as you mentioned, survivors clinging to wreckage. One of them radioed for help. Is radioing for help a hostile act?
No, we know that from our own service members who explained to us that they have survival kits, and the survival kits include radios to call for help. That is not an act of war. That is an act of survival, if you will. That is a civilian act, if nothing else. So those individuals cannot be killed for radioing for help.
It's really interesting because Admiral Bradley and his legal advisor, according to the Times, concluded that they were attempting to continue their drug run. And they're telling senators today that made the already damaged vessel a legitimate target, Evelyn. What do senators say in response?
Yeah, I mean, I would doubt that will hold up in any kind of court of law. And frankly, I do think that these individuals will be court-martialed at some point or brought before a military court of justice. If not now, then at the end of President Trump's term or some other point in time when Congress can step in more assertively. The reality is we need to make sure that we abide by international law, the United States, that is, because we have service members who are working all over the world every day during peace and obviously during war. And we want them to also be given fair treatment and given the protection that the Geneva Conventions gives them.
You believe Admiral Bradley will be court-martialed or others, Evelyn?
Well, I don't know. Obviously, we have to look and see what how the investigation unfolds. But it does appear, I guess I shouldn't go lean so far forward to say that he definitely will be. But there must be more investigation. Let's just leave it at that. And then someone might have to be held accountable. But there's also an overriding question, as I mentioned, Joe, about the legality under international law of these operations. Deeming them war does not make them war.
To begin with, reporting in the Wall Street Journal, about a different admiral, Alvin Halsey, who was the head of Southcom. And until now, we believe that he had stepped down from his position in some sort of protest over these operations. Evelyn, the Journal is reporting that he was forced out by Pete Hegseth after voicing initial concerns about the legality of these operations. Based on your time in the Pentagon, how unusual is it to see a commander fired from his post or taken off of that post during an ongoing military operation?
Well, it's incredibly rare, Joe. And I will note that when I worked on the Senate Armed Services Committee, I had oversight for the Southern Command as well as the Special Operations Command. So you do not remove your leading commander unless there's real cause. And in this case, the only thing he did was question the legal assessment, it sounds like. I mean, I don't also know the full details on this. And to fire someone for questioning, which really should be the commander's job. I mean, he should be questioning everything to make sure that he's protecting the men and women in uniform who are working and conducting operations under his orders.
As an admiral, can Alvin Halsey speak out about this? Or just in our remaining 30 seconds, Evelyn, will he need to be compelled by Congress to speak publicly?
He likely will. Well, that's a good question. He can speak out as a civilian, certainly. And the only thing that he can't talk about are classified items publicly. But of course, he can speak to the relevant committees in a classified session about all of this.